Hello everybody and welcome back in. Today we're doing something fun, which is something I enjoy doing about not as often now as I used to, but I go out about 3 days a month and I look for vintage or unusual or interesting or quality pieces that I can reimagine, upcycle, repurpose in some way. So in today's video, I'm going to share my thrift haul, but this thrift haul was actually taken from my stash because I have so many things here at the house. I've decided to start shopping my stash to reduce the pile up I have in the garage. So I'm sharing all the items I've thrifted and my idea for each one so that hopefully you can maybe spark an idea of when you're out in a estate or thrift store, just some of these materials, maybe seeing them in a new way. So sort of reimagining their potential. So first up, we have this red 100% wool wide brim hat, and it's from the 90s, estimated around the 90s era. And why I like this is it's very sort of boho western, which is a style I really enjoy. And my idea for this one is to make a hat band for it, and I don't think it's going to come across on screen here, but there are a few very small beginning of moth holes here. And so that's going to give me a little bit more of a creative freedom with this hat. So I may do something kind of like I had the idea when I get a lot of my ideas on Pinterest, I'll browse. So here's the little thing I do is if I have the item, so I can Google into Pinterest, red western hat or red boho hat or vintage wool hat on Pinterest, and then I'll see ideas that other people have done or maybe things from eras past that will inspire me, and then I sort of am off and running with what I'm going to do with it. So with this one, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe a Y2K sort of like denim patches to cover up some of these damages, and then doing like maybe a bling hat band. So still deciding, but here's a few inspo ideas I have for this one. And then here's one that I've sort of already worked on, but I thought I would share it because I did this one this week. So I've taken this vintage belt, so that's another thing I like to turn into hat bands, sort of. They just make for really good hat bands, I find. So then all I did was just weave it under here, and then the same on the other side. So you could very easily remove it if you wanted. And then I added these gray tassels to it. Here, so let me put it on. And I'll insert some pictures here of how it looks on my mannequin. But then this is kind of cool because it's got just this nice, I like how that belt plays off of the black wool hat. And this one actually still has the tags on, and this one doesn't have any damage. So I was really excited to find this. It was just sitting in my garage, and I purchased it, and I put all these hats in a bin, and I labeled them hats. But then if I can't see it, it's like I forget I have it. So this is why it's so important that I go through my garage on a weekly basis and pull out items that I could use. So I wanted to include a few from a category that I feel like everybody would be able to come across this sort of thing at estate sales, not the exact, but sort of like the idea. So here we've got this vintage book, and when I saw the images inside, I immediately thought of one of the journals that I'm going to make, which is a baby girl and a baby boy journal. And this one had a lot of images of baby boys, whereas most things I come across are of baby girls. So here's some more things fitting into that same category. So like this would be so cute. This could be the cover itself. And then I could cover over these words. We could repurpose this book. This is really nice on the interior. Let's see what year this is. I can't read it. I don't know. I'm not seeing it, but it's definitely older. So here's more images that I would use. And not all of them I will want to use, but then I also am experimenting, like I've shared before, with selling lots of ephemera, vintage ephemera, for other crafters and artists to repurpose. So I'm sort of experimenting with both things at the same time. And I actually really enjoy putting together these lots. So I'm hoping that once I get the pricing right and the sort of know which ones I'm going to constantly stock, I think I'll start to find my groove with that. But yes, I really love that one. So these are all going in the baby boy journal. Then sticking with that same theme, we have, now, although I thrifted these, it doesn't matter to me if they're all vintage, just that they go with the style I'm doing. So like these could be modern, but these are gonna go well also with like the little baby boy theme. I'll probably cover this, but I may not. These could be journal cards. I could repurpose them because they're that same thickness, or I could just tuck them into the journal. So these would also be a good candidate for journal cards. They've got that nice scallop edging, and then they could write on the back. So actually these would make really good journal cards. And see, you just get so many all at once when somebody gets rid of their whole little set. So I loved those. And then this was my favorite one. I don't know, the scalloped might be my favorite, but this was a second favorite. I'm not big on the color yellow, but again, for a boy, this works really well. And then I could actually even use some of these in the girls' journal too. So yeah, I just really like those. And the other thing is I can repurpose these because I can trace the shape and then use that as the template to then use my Cricut to cut out more of these, and then I can sort of embellish them. So if I want to do a girl, we can do the girl colors. We can do a little, what do you call, like a tulle skirt around here. Just sort of, these inspired me. And I think this is the last one for the journal ideas. So this was originally like this bag. What did I? And I'm going to take the bag part out, and then I'm going to use this in a journal. I was considering using it as a journal cover, sort of like an untraditional one. So I'm still deciding, but I could also use it inside the journal and like fold it. But I was drawn to this, and I picked up 2 of these. Okay, now we have, looks like I got this one at Goodwill. So I think it's, well, it's shaped like a hat, but I don't know if it's actually a hat box because it's a little small to be a hat box. But what I liked when I opened it was I really already liked the pink striped interior. And while I'm not a huge fan of this green, because it's kind of just sort of a polka dot neutral on the interior, I thought I can leave that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo the exterior. So I'm probably just going to cover up this, and then imagine this is a plate and this is a cake. And this goes on, and it's like a plate on a cake, and then I'm going to decorate the cake with fabric to make it look like a decorative storage box shaped like a cake on a plate. So here's one that I did. It's not on a plate, but it's that same concept. I'm going to decorate the cake in that same way, but just with its own style. And then on the plate, I'm going to try to find like doilies, whether they're fabric or paper, to sort of accentuate the plate. Okay, so I have more items that these are vintage children's books, and of course the graphics really appealed to me for doing children's journals. I love incorporating like vintage illustrations into children's journals. And the fact that this one and this one were of the same like maker style, they just are going to coordinate really well. And I was also thinking of that sort of boys theme. As the boy gets older, like later in the journal, I might like to have some of these more like older, like not baby, but older boy sort of graphics for the boy journals. I think I said that in the most complicated way possible. So I don't know if I'm going to incorporate these into the baby boy journal or if they're just going to be in like a different type of journal, but I just really like the graphics, and I may incorporate them into children's book ephemera pages lots. So we'll see. Then we have, I have way more of these than I brought out, but what they are is they're vintage postcards. And why I was actually drawn to these, I know a lot of people like the ones with writing, but I seem to be drawn to the ones that are blank because I like the idea of being able to craft on the other side of them. So I'm not going to go through them all, but I don't worry about, like for instance, this. I'm not a huge fan of this graphic, but I'm going to cover this with something else. Like here's some that I did of the Care Bear with the Care Bears themes, where I took vintage postcards and then I covered it up. And then I did some in like a shabby sort of cottage style, floral, vintage floral fabric. I covered up the front and then I did a little embellishing on the back. And I really had fun with that. So I decided to pull some more out and do the same thing on the ones that I wasn't super crazy about the graphics on them. The graphics didn't really go with my theme of anything. Like technically this could go in a travel journal. And so I may set that one to the side, or I kind of like that one that I just had with the plane on the front, but I'll sort of decide as I go through them, like, do I want to keep the graphic? This is one that I have like a bajillion of, so this is a good one to work with. Cover up. I don't actually find a lot of postcards, so when I found these, I grabbed like 70 all at once. Okay, and I've got one more after this that isn't journal related, so let's do this one. This is one that when you look at the images, it's just like, this is perfect, absolutely perfect for a travel themed journal, which is one of the journal styles that I'm most passionate about making. And I haven't made any travel journals yet, but today I'm going to start sorting through my books and the ephemera for them. I do consider the book pages ephemera. So I'm going to start removing out the ones I'm going to use. And then I'm also going to be putting together lots for other people. And yes, so this is just, let's see. Oh yes, here's one. I think this was like the one that sold me on the book. This castle back there. I would love to travel somewhere like this. So these are just really nice images, high quality, and really good. So I loved these. I was very inspired by this book. Britain, This Beautiful Land. Okay, and so when I go looking for items, I don't just keep myself in the garage. I go through my own closet too, because sometimes there's things hiding that I'm not using, and this was a good example. So I found this bag that I'm not using, and I like this texture, this metallic texture, but I just have too many bags. So what I'm going to do is, and I've already started, but this came off a pair of vintage Justin boots. I sold the boots, but I took this off because the minute I saw it, I knew I wanted to make more. And so I used this to create my template. And then what I do is I take leather. This one's too small, so then this one will become a bookmark like this. that I can add to a journal or I can embellish it later. This is actually in my son's bookmark, but I would add a tassel normally to them. And then this is like a faux, these I know I got these at Hobby Lobby, but they ended up in my big pile in the garage. So I do have a lot of craft supplies out there as well, but I love the idea of doing this on one side, this on the other, and then the same with the black. So this on one side and this one on the other. And then you've got the genuine leather, which is going to give it a lot of strength and stability. And then the faux, which is just going to give it that sort of flashy style. And so then instead of being single-sided, I'll have a double layer, and then you can put it on your boot either way, like reversible. And I'll insert a picture of somebody with these on their boots, but that's just that sort of classic vintage style. And you can attach it to more than one type of shoe because you just lace it through here, whichever shoe it looks good on to you, typically boots. And yeah, so this is something I'm going to be making for my shop. And this is the first one, the first two that I have cut out. They do take a while to cut. I have to cut them with my X-Acto knife. And then I use my awl to punch through here. No, I didn't use my awl. I used, here, I'll show you. This is what I used. I got a lot of my crafting tools from the hardware store and from the leather making store because I just really liked the quality. And then at the hardware store, I got a lot of these at Freight Harbor Freight, and they were really reasonably priced and more durable than a lot of the ones at the craft stores. So thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to hear of these, would you like to see any of these concepts turned into a video? And also, what types of things do you like to look for when you're out thrifting or at estate sales that you like to turn into something else, like raw material that you upcycle with? I would love to hear from you, and I will see you soon.